All right, I'm recording this in mid-2021. It is July 1st, 2021. Right now, platinum is going for about 0.7 times what gold is. Historically, platinum has almost always traded above gold, and I'm going to show how astrology shows that by the year 2024, platinum could be trading 2x of what gold is. And the way I calculated this is that historically, markets move in cycles. And some of those cycles, believe it or not, are caused by neurological behavior, caused by the differences in gravity from other planets and the moon especially. And so I think everybody can agree there is an annual cycle, right? There are certain things you do once a year that could potentially affect the market, right? Christmas comes once a year, you file your taxes once a year, and all of that can indirectly affect gold and platinum, right? But there are certain things that happen every lunar cycle as well, right? Well, the tricky part is how many days does it take for the moon to go around the Earth? There's actually two good answers for that, believe it or not, and I'll show you in a second. So the Earth goes around the Sun every 365.256363004 days. The 0.25 is why we have a leap year, and actually every 100 years we exclude one leap year, and then we add one back every 400 years, and I believe there's another adjustment when you get up to the year 4000 to account for that decimal, right? Now, believe it or not, there are two ways to think about the month. So, the moon actually goes around the Earth every 27.321661 days. Now, we see the phases of the moon change every 29.5308589 days. Think about why the reason for that difference. Well, the reason is that as the moon is going around the Earth is also going around the Sun. And so it takes about an extra 2 days for the moon to get back in the same angle relative to the Sun. And so both of those cycles could affect human behavior in some way, right? So the three biggest ones are probably going to be the year, the moon phases, and the actual revolution of the moon around the Earth, right? And then possibly a daily cycle, but I didn't go into the intraday trading. If you want to do astrology on intraday trading, you might have a daily cycle that goes around once a day, right? Now, as the moon goes around the Earth, it has what's called precession. The moon is not a perfect circle around the Earth, right? If you've been looking at the solar eclipse recently, it was only an annular eclipse, right? It was not a total eclipse. And the reason for that is that the distance of the moon to the Earth changes as it goes around the Earth, right? It's an ecliptic orbit. Now, that ecliptic, believe it or not, will change relative to the position of the Sun, and it changes roughly every 3,232 point some change days. It's about eight and a half years. Now, nodal precession, that's another change in the apsidal precession is the change in the plane of the moon's orbit. Nodal precession is the point at which the moon is closest to the Earth, changing from year to year. Okay, so those four parameters pretty much define the moon's orbit around the Earth, which is probably going to be the biggest contributors to changes in human behavior. Now, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, they all go around the Sun. Mercury takes 87 point some days, Venus takes 224, and then Saturn takes 10,759 days. I didn't do Uranus and Neptune because they take so long that I don't have enough data for the metals for it to go one full cycle. Saturn was about as far as I could with it still going one full cycle. Now, Saturn takes 10,759 days to go around the Sun, Earth days that is. But if you were to look at the sky, how long would it take for Saturn to come into opposition? Well, think about it. In a year's time, the Earth goes around the Sun once. Saturn barely moves. So it takes a few more days to catch up to Saturn. So every 378 days and a few minutes, Saturn returns to the same position in the sky. Jupiter takes 398 days because it moves a little bit more than Saturn. Mars takes 779 days because Mars and Earth have almost the same year, so it's going to take a while to catch up, right? Venus takes 583 days. So we got 15 different periods of interest, right? 365, 29.5, 27.3, and then the precessions for the moon. And each planet has two different periods of interest, right? The period of which it goes around the sun, and the period of which it appears in the same place in the sky on Earth, right? Although I wonder how astrology will change when humans start inhabiting other planets, right? If you have a good percentage of the population on Mars or on the moon, the impact of gravity on those people and affecting how they trade gold and platinum will probably start to have an impact. Right at that point, I'll probably add other cycles relating to how gravity is affecting those people if the population is big enough to affect the market, right? So what happens then? Well, what you do is you have basically sines and cosines of functions with these periods, right? So we're looking for the coefficients. Let's see, sine of 2 pi over one of these periods times x. That's a function with a period of whatever that cycle period is, right? Whether it be 365 or 29. So you're looking for the coefficients in front of these guys, right? Now, I also have a linear component to it, right? So over long periods of time, perhaps there is a general linear trend, right? Perhaps over long enough decades, we mine platinum at a certain rate, we mine gold at a different rate, and so there might be a linear trend plus the sines and cosines matching the astrological periods involved, right? Now, hopefully one day we'll have even more data, and then we can start adding Uranus and Neptune. And when we have even more data, right, if we had data going back to how many ounces of gold versus how many ounces of platinum that dinosaurs were trading, we can even add the precession of the Earth's tilt, right? So right now the Earth is tilted 23 degrees, but that changes, believe it or not, over long enough periods of time. That's why we have the Ice Age. Unfortunately, I don't know what the ratio of gold to platinum was during the Ice Age, right? If I did, I could add even more parameters, right? And so the prediction is that platinum is going to rise relative to just about anything. I don't have time to show this. I don't have time to show the other ratios in the video because these charts take a long time to load because of all the data. But platinum is going to be rising against gold. It's going to be rising even more against palladium because palladium is overvalued at the moment. Against silver, it was not as dramatic as gold. It's going to rise against the stock market, but not as dramatically, it seemed like. And just about any other currency, right? But then the other metals are going to be rising against most currencies in the coming years. So I would hold on to platinum until it's at least 1.5 to 2. At 1.5 to gold, I would start dollar cost average trading that for gold. Well, technically platinum cost averaging it for gold, right? Actually, if we were to plot, I'll try plotting this more. I believe it will go below 1 at some point again. And over the long period, it is pretty flat, if I remember correctly, from the linear coefficients. So even the trend line didn't predict it would go to half, right? Generally, it bounces around between 0.8 and 2 over long enough periods of time. I'll have to plot out more future predict cycles to see. Anyway, why the fuck would you buy gold when you can buy platinum for half the price? Thanks for watching.